We are so excited about tonight's video. If you want to know how to save money, if you want to know how not to get taken by dealers, if you want to know when should I do my inspection in which part of the buying process, and a lot more questions like these.
How about this? How much should I pay for this RV? What's the markup? That's
there you go. There you go. We have these and more questions that you guys have sent in to us, and we're so excited to start tackling them with our special guests.
So if you've watched our channel, you know we've had a former RV dealer, employee, a finance expert, somebody has a lot of knowledge in the inner workings on RVs, how to buy RVs, the value of RVs, selling RVs, refinancing RVs, and that will be Chris Lizio from Into RV. Chris has been on our channel several times. Many of you have reached out to him. Many of you have used his services and have had great satisfaction. So we put out a post recently on our social media platforms, which if you don't follow, you really should. We'll put those links, they're all down below, asking you guys questions that you may have for an RV expert, somebody that knows this in and out. And those questions Chris is going to answer you right now. So let's bring Chris in, and he is back through the magic of the internet.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, how are you guys?
Great.
So you have all these questions for people that are just tuning in, maybe the first time seeing you, just a quick 1 minute introduction of who you are and what you do.
1 minute, you're not giving me much time, but I'll try. For those who haven't seen me on this channel, at least, I own Into RV, which is intorv.com. We do RV lending, marine lending, so basically loans for private party purchases, dealer purchases, refinances of RV, marine, and now aircraft. But we do financing with some of the best rates out there, some of the best banks out there. We try to do that in a very efficient and consumer-based way. So we try to pair up and team up with you to make sure that you have experience that's completely transparent and you're able to help direct the transaction instead of kind of sitting in the back seat wondering what's happening.
I think that was under a minute.
And he does planes too.
That was really good. Right.
We're going to jump right into this. We got several questions, and then you have some things that you want to talk about that some of our subscribers didn't mention but are really important. So let's get into the first question, a really common one.
Right. So there were 4 subscribers that asked this question in 4 different ways. So we're just going, if you ask this question, we're going to combine them into one. And it has to do with markup. So what is the typical markup for a new and used RV? Somebody said it's 30% off, a good starting point for negotiating. Should that also apply to used? So all of this about the markup, typical markup.
Yeah, so funny enough, when I tell you, hey, let's get some feedback, let's try to answer some questions that the consumers have, and let's try to see, exactly the information they're trying to find out. I always know the first thing I'm going to have to answer is about dealer margin or dealer profit versus cost. And that's always the common what is factual, what is not factual. If we're looking at this as a scenario and we said, hey, based on just buying this RV, and let's take a trade out of the equation because that does muddy the water a little bit. The answer is there's no exact answer. And I hate to say it that way, but everything is manufacturer and even model line specific. There are some manufacturers that have larger discounts, larger margins from MSRP to actual dealer cost, and there are some manufacturers that have smaller margins. On average, most guests who go looking at motorhomes, they can find common discounts right on the internet. Manufacturers have what's considered as minimum advertised pricing, which is referred to as MAP pricing. And that is when they say, hey, I know my MSRP on this product is $200,000, but you can advertise it for 25% off, but not 26% off, just 25% off. So right then and there, if the rest of the field is offering 25% off, there's at least that much of a discount. Now, typically, that's not the margin. There's still more discount to get. You just have to try to figure out where that product line lands. But there are some manufacturers who, based on how much money you're spending, the margins get bigger and bigger the higher you go up. I'm not going to name the exact ones just to keep myself out of trouble. You can always call me with any questions that you have there. I may know at least an approximate on most of these motorhomes, at least. The towables are a little more different for me and difficult for me because there's so many out there and I don't pay as much attention to them. But on the motorized side, I should have at least a little bit of a hint. It's not unusual to see discounts of 30 or 33% off, sometimes 40% off, especially when you get to the previous model years, the leftovers, things of that nature. But on the stuff that's hot, the stuff that you can't keep in stock, the leisure travels of the world, and they're back ordered for a year, it's not unusual for dealers to be selling those for MSRP or 5% off MSRP. There is not an exact number as far as the margin for all of them. It is different model line to model line. As far as used, that really does depend on the dealer strategy. Not every dealer is the same, but it's not the same way that you might think it is on the new pricing. Dealers try to bring inventory in below wholesale book and sell it somewhere between wholesale and retail book. That sometimes is a margin of $10,000, sometimes it's $20,000. And you got to remember inside those numbers, there's things like PDI costs and repairs and detailing and all those items. Of course, they want to still be profitable, and that's where they make most of their money on the sales side compared to new is on that, where they take it in versus where they sell it. It really does depend on the dealer strategy. Some are just looking to get the volume and move these things as quick as possible, and they're not trying to hold on to them forever, so they don't have those big margins that you might suspect that they do.
We have a lot of good information in this video. Before we get into it, we do want to thank the sponsor of this video. If you're buying a new RV or even a used one, you know that the mattress is usually pretty bad, and the sponsor of this video, RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding, can help resolve that issue.
Guys, we have had some of the best nights sleep on our RV, and we've had our mattress for years. They make products for your home. They make products for RVs. If you are a full-time RVer, they'll deliver it right to your door at your campground. What's great is they have a 120-night sleep trial. So take that time, take a few months, try out the mattress, make sure it's a right fit for you. If it's not, they will work with you to find something that fits your style.
They have all different types of mattresses to fit all different types of RVs. So whether you like a memory foam like we have, coils, a hybrid of both, and they have their new Titan Plus. For those that are larger, taller, heavier, it's a more firm mattress made specifically as a response to you guys, the RVers. They're a huge supporter of our channel. All their products are based in the USA. That's where they're headquartered out of. They always have great prices. They always run great sales. But if you use the discount code,
Endless,
you will always get 30% off. Now, if they're running a sale that is more, you will get the higher percentage off. We absolutely love our mattress. You can go read the reviews. If you want more information, if you're interested in purchasing a mattress from RVmattress.com, we'll put our link and our discount code down below. I do have a follow-up question. This wasn't in questions of our viewers. And I don't want you to mention dealerships, but are there certain dealerships out there that will or typically take a far bigger discount on the sale of the RV motorhome because their business model, they get profits from many other things? Do you find that like some dealers typically will have a smaller discount where other dealers will discount more? Is that something that you've seen? Yeah,
I mean, there are some outfits that offer much more than just selling a motorhome. One of them, I think you know who I'm going to reference here, but one of them, they do storage, they do service, they do paint and body, they do maintenance, they do rallies, they do events, they make you part of a club. So there's all different ways that wheel is always turning, so they can make a little bit less on the sale of the coach because they're going to keep and retain the customer for other items. The goal is just to keep that customer as part of their family rather than just being a one-time transaction. And that's what separates transactional versus relational. Similar to the things that I do, I don't try to make anything a transaction. I want to make sure that the customer is fully taken care of throughout the entire ownership experience. So if there's anything I can do at any point in time, they call me, I'll actually know who they are. We can have a conversation. I can help them, even if it's 3 years down the road and they say, hey, I just need to get out of this or sell it, something came up, I want to at least have an outlet for them and have them feel like they can trust to come back and talk with me and be able to help them however I can. So I mean, dealers who have more to offer will typically take a little bit less margin just to make sure that they're moving the volume and retaining a customer that they otherwise wouldn't have.
Great. That answered my questions. A little inkling that I had, but thank you for clarifying that. So let's move on to the next question. What is negotiable and what is not? Extended warranties, ? Add-ons a dealer could do, etc. So all these fees, all these different things, a lot of people want to know, what do I have to get? What should I get? What's negotiable? You're great to answer.
Yeah. And before I answer it, let's add in the second question behind that, which is what, if any, fees can be eliminated or negotiated down, because these fees and add-ons and warranties all kind of end up blending together. Before we talk about warranty, let's just talk about fees and add-ons. Add-ons, if they're accessories, obviously there's a part in a labor cost that goes into it. Almost always they're profitable. Dealers will tell you, oh, we'll do them at cost, whatever it may be. What is cost? What is defined as cost? Every part price has a margin. If they're selling it to you at list price, if they're selling it to you at 10% off a list, there's still a margin. So you've got to define that to say what is true cost. And then obviously labor, there is a cost. I've been, on the other end of a desk as a sales manager where I paid the same labor rate as a customer pays for anything that's done, whether it's on the PDI side or whether it's on the accessory installation side. And if customers said, well, give it to me at cost, I'd say that is my cost. I think I pay more than retail customers do. So what is true cost? What is actually negotiable? Dealer to dealer, obviously, and deal to deal. The way I say it is, hey, if it's not governmental, right? So if it's not sales tax, if it's not registration, if it's not titling, then you have a total amount that RV is costing you. So if it's a $100,000 RV and you've got $6,000 in total add-ons and fees, then you're at $106,000. That's the number you negotiate from. You don't negotiate the $6,000. You don't negotiate just the $100,000. You negotiate that $106,000. That's not governmental. That's all the money that's going into the sales side, and that's what you negotiate based on. If it's governmental, now you're talking about taxes, registration, and titling. Those are just what it is. As far as dealer fees, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of customers who talk about dealer fees, PDI fees, shipping fees, because a lot of dealers have these all broken down in different ways. They say, oh no, this is the dealer fee, this is just the PDI, or this is the PDI, but this is the transport, and we got to pay for all these things. So those costs get passed on to you. Ultimately, like I said, what is your total cost with all the fees that are not included in titling and tax and registration? That is your cost that you're purchasing it for. It doesn't matter where the money goes. When you're comparing deal to deal, if I have a Integra emblem at this dealer, and then I'm going to have an Integra emblem at this dealer, it doesn't matter to me if dealer A has more fees than dealer B, as long as the deal is less than what dealer B is. So it should be, hey, I don't care what bucket you're putting the money in, as long as the money is less than the other or competitive, or the amount of money I want to pay for the coach. That is all that really matters. It doesn't matter how it's broken down at the dealership level, as long as it all together and combined makes sense compared to the market or compared to the other dealer or based on the research that you've done. As far as warranties, there are hundreds of warranty companies, and they are service contracts. They're actually not considered extended warranties because none of these vendors can actually extend your factory warranty. They're vehicle service contracts in this case. There's only one state I know of that is regulated and completely untouchable when it comes to warranties and insurance prices, and that is Florida. So if you are buying something out of the state of Florida or you're a Florida resident, you're going to maybe be affected by this. Florida residents usually know if they go to buy insurance from, say, Progressive or Geico, and they know they're writing a Florida policy, they get transferred to a Florida agent because they have to go through a registered insurance pricing map of some sort, and everyone gets the same pricing or the same premium based on whatever calculation they do. I don't really know, but it's not a variable number. The same as with the warranties in Florida. Once a dealer says that all the 2024 Integra emblems 4-year service contract costs $4,000, then everyone in Florida has to pay $4,000 for that warranty. They can't pay more or less than one another. In all the other states, these are pretty open as far as margins are concerned, and as far as negotiating is concerned, the warranty is touchable in other states. So a finance manager or business manager has the opportunity or availability to say, hey, my cost is $3,000 on this contract. I'm going to quote you $6,000. I'm going to double my money. And then when you say no to it, they may say something like, well, what if I can do it for $5,000? And you say no to it, and they go, well, what if I could do it for $4,500? And they start walking it down. It's because they have that margin. They have the availability and the legal ability to actually reduce the cost. When you feel like that's happening to you, there's usually an indication that A, there's some margin there, but B, watch out for your emotions and the way that you react, because the whole goal is to make you feel like you're getting a really good deal. Ultimately, it's on a product that you initially were saying no to. Are they actually giving you enough value where you feel like you're purchasing a product you believe in, or are they just discounting it enough for you to go, okay, well, I guess I'll buy it because now it's cheap enough? Those are two things you really need to pay attention to when it comes to warranty. I always say watch out for your emotional senses, because dealers certainly try to sell off of that.
That's a very good explanation in that strategy, right? No, high, and then, well, I'm getting a great deal, I might as well go for it. Yet they still made their $1,000 or $1,500. That's all great information. Thank you for sharing that.
So the next one has to do with insurance companies. So this viewer said, insurance companies are having a hard time with Class B units because they are not sure if the usage is part-time or full-time because of the van capabilities. Is this true?
Long and short, no. I think what we saw there was the person who posted actually said a dealership or a salesperson had told them that. Don't know what the motive was of the salesperson. I finance people who buy Class A's, B's, C's, and boats, and I don't run into this issue. Typical insurance companies ask one question about usage. Are you planning on using it more than 180 days per year or less than 180 days per year? And that defines the usage. They're not looking at the actual RV type at all. There are some insurance companies that might take the VIN number and run this, say, Coachman Galleria and say, oh, it's a Mercedes Sprinter. So it's a car, and you'll have to make sure that they're running it as an RV policy on it being a Coachman Galleria. Two reasons. Number one is the usage portion, and it doesn't get prorated if it's an automobile. And the second reason is for value. You know, if they insure it as a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, they're going to insure it based off the Sprinter value versus a RV value. Ways to avoid that is just make sure you're talking to the agent directly. Make sure when you get that policy, it is RV policy. And if you have any questions, you know, you can lean on me. You can shoot me an email, a text, a phone call, and ask my opinion of what's happening with the policy and why it doesn't sound right, and I'll be happy to answer it.
Excellent. More good points. Next question is about getting RV inspections. The question is, how do you go about getting the RV inspection done before signing any paperwork? Second part, I'm assuming they're asking, how do you go about putting down a non-refundable deposit, or do you have to put a deposit before you get an inspection? I'm assuming that's what that question is trying to get at.
I've said this already. Every dealer differs, so it's hard to answer for every single dealer all at once, right? But ultimately, in most cases, you're going to have a deposit on a unit to have a full RV inspection done. That's typical dealer policy. The refundable versus non-refundable part really depends on where you go and the way they write the transaction. Reputable dealers, typically their deposits are fully refundable. And there are some dealers who say they're fully refundable, and then it is a dogfight to get that back into your account. So you definitely want to do some research on who you're buying from, or look at a list of preferred dealers somewhere. Do some research in the groups, the Facebook groups, which we all know are very useful. IRV2 forums are really good for that. You shoot me a message. I'll be happy to help you. I'll have a list of preferred dealers on my website sooner than later. But as far as getting the RV inspection done before signing paperwork, that just needs to be a talking point with your salesperson. Just say, hey, number one, I want to make sure you guys are okay with me having a third-party inspection done. This is who I plan on using, and they're going to need the RV for this many hours, and these are the hookups they're going to need. And just make sure it's all set up as a joint team effort. You know, you're not doing this to put the dealer against the inspector or you versus the dealer. So make sure this is a very big team effort. That way you have the best experience possible and you get the best inspection possible, and the resolution is in your favor. So you want to make sure everything's done in teamwork, and the dealers are usually pretty receptive towards that.
That's
good
also
points.
a good point. Yeah, it shouldn't be this. It should be how we're going to get the best for everybody. You're going to make your money. We're going to get a good deal. Yeah. And get RV you're going to be happy with.
Work together. Yeah. So the next one, this viewer says, and guys, as you're watching this video, put in the comments below. Chris is always in the comments. He's great about answering questions. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer questions if they're not answered in this video. What information do I need to have before beginning the process of buying? The actual out the door price, they said.
Yeah, I don't know if this is related to financing or just related in general, what customers are asking, like what they should be looking for. But really fast answer, what is the out the door before taxes, title, and registration? And then what does the taxes, title, and registration cost me? In most cases, if you're buying in-state, the dealer is going to account for all those fees up front because they do all the title work. If you're out of state and you're financing, someone's going to have to collect it. Whether it's if you come to me, we have to collect it and we handle it for you. If you use a dealer, they've got to collect it. They have to handle it for you. If you're paying cash and it's out of state, most dealers will just hand you the title or MSO when you're done. And they'll say, take care of it in your own state, have a good one. And that's kind of how those transactions usually differ. But every dealer is going to have a different policy. I always like to say, hey, what is the total amount of all of your costs before tax, title, and registration? Because that is the true cost that RV is going to cost you.
So the last question, it's not really a question, it's kind of a statement, but I know on previous videos you said this is something that you offer for those that are seriously looking to buy a RV. So the last question is, person said, working to get a price for the average retailer for a specific unit, year, and mileage without paying some vendor for it. It's not really a question, but I know that you are helpful for this for people that are going to be your customer. You have the consultations and just maybe some of the services that you do offer.
I have no problem looking up things like JD Power, which provide a wholesale look. So I could figure out lender valuation. It gives me some retail reference. And then if customers are buying and they're using me especially for financing, I can spend a little more time with them digging through it and finding out what the average retail is. And the way I tell my customers every single time is just remember, everything you see on the internet is not sold. So that doesn't guarantee average retail price that it sells for. That just tells you what they haven't sold for yet. Now that is the established market, the entry price as far as what the advertising agencies are showing. But, obviously there is a lender valuation that'll tie into what these actually end up selling for as well in most cases. I'm happy to help. If you have any questions on valuation of something being sold, just shoot me an email and let me know if you're planning on paying cash or financing, just so I can kind of look at it through that framework when I have time. I don't always guarantee an instant turnaround on those just because I have a lot of finance customers every single day that I'm talking to. I try to put those and get the responses as fast as I can within a couple days or so, sometimes the same day. It just depends on what's happening.
All great questions. This video is running a little bit long, so we're going to break it up into two parts because the second part of this video is even more important than what you're learning on the first part. And some of the topics Chris is going to talk about are going to be extremely important when you're going to buy your RV.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about in part 2, high pressure tactics at the dealer level and at the desk when you're sitting there and what they're going to try to accomplish on their end. That's to your disadvantage. That's number 1. Financing offers. Is it realistic? Is it not realistic? Is it believable or not? And why? And we're going to talk about delivery timeline with the dealers compared to when you're actually paying or signing for these motorhomes or RVs. The trade-in value look a little high, or does it look a little unrealistic? Let's talk about that and try to find out why it's like that. And lastly, we're going to talk about this incentive to finance that some dealers are offering. What does that actually include? What does that look like? So those are the items that I think we're going to hit next.
All good stuff.
All good stuff. Yeah. So in the comments below, guys, let us know what are some additional questions you may have, because Chris does read the comments when the videos come out, and many times he does answer them. Also, Chris, you want to put your information, talk about email and phone number for our viewers if they want to contact you.
Online website has a lot of information, www.intorv.com, all spelled out, INTORV.com. Email, just finance@intorv.com, really simple. Phone number, 470-866-4799. Call or text anytime.
Awesome information. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you in part 2 of this video.